What's going on, everyone? So today we're gonna give the STi a little bit of a meter look. So when I first got the STi, this was one of the first mods that I wanted to do, was put a front lip kit on it, put a side skirt on it, put some rear bumper aprons on it. So the OEM front lip is $400, the side skirt OEM is also around $400, and the bumper aprons are a little bit less, I believe. They're around 300-ish in that range. So alone at the OEM parts, you're looking at over $1,000. I decided not to spend that much money on something that will potentially get scratched up. I picked up the JNA Performance V line, the front lip, the side skirt, and the rear bumper aprons, and I got all of these for around $519. So the front lip, I believe, was $169, the rear bumper aprons were $69, and surprisingly, the side skirts were actually the most expensive at $199. So I got all of those for just over the price of what the front lip OEM would cost. The quality is going to be a little bit different than the OEM. So I have seen some of the OEM in person, and the plastic does look like a high quality plastic. It looks a lot better. The fitment's like 100% absolute perfect, and that's all great. I'm okay with a little bit of off fitment and a little bit of misalignment. Something that I did notice when I first pulled these out of the box was that the front lip and the side skirt and the bumper aprons, they are made of a different plastic. So the front lip has a more pliable, it's softer, it feels softer. It's definitely more bendable. It feels like it might scratch a little bit less. And the side skirts and the bumper aprons, they're a little bit more of a harder plastic. They got more gloss to it, they got more shine, and it's noticeably different, the difference between the two. And so if you're going to get all three of these pieces, that's something to really know, is that the front lip looks a little bit different than the side skirt and the bumper aprons. And I noticed it, and it bothered me a little bit. But for the sake, because I'm wrapping these, I'm not gonna notice it, so I offset that. In overall quality, the front lip does have a little bit of some issue, and so you'll notice that in some of the cuts and where the injection process may have happened, it's very rugged, it's very ragged edge. It doesn't feel like a clean edge. And so if depending on the quality control of how these come out, sometimes you may have to sand it down a little bit if it's something that may bother you. I don't believe it's going to show when I actually install it. I'm not sure yet, but it is something that I noticed, that the quality of it and the way it was cut, it wasn't perfect. But you're also getting what you pay for at the same time, so I wouldn't have expected it to be 100% perfect, but I may have not expected it to have as much imperfections as it did. The side skirts and the rear bumper aprons, those looked pretty good. There was nothing noticeable there that it was like, oh, I could tell this was a quality issue, or these looked like they were poorly made. The side skirts and the bumper aprons looked great, so I'm happy with those overall, but the color difference is the one thing that threw me off, but that's the only thing I would say about those and all the pieces together. We're actually first gonna wrap it in a 3M satin dust gold black. So the color is a beautiful black finish. It's a satin look. It also has these metallic gold specks in it. So while it is black, if you look at it in a little bit of light, it has this awesome shine of metallic gold in it. This is gonna be my third time wrapping something. So I wrapped the hood one time, complete failure, had to redo it. I wrapped it the second time, not as much as a failure. It was definitely a struggle, but I ended up making it work. There's only one minor imperfection on it. But wrapping these is gonna be a little bit of a different process, because it's gonna require several inlays for each piece, because there's a lot of angles going on with these lips. So I'm looking forward to see how they turn out. So for complicated pieces, this is gonna be super important to have. You'll put this tape down and you'll put over the vinyl, and then you'll pull it back, and it will give a really clean cut. And that way you can do several inlays without having to use one whole piece. This is not actually Dawn. This is rubbing alcohol and water. And what I'll do is I'll spray this on like the front lip, and that way I'll just decontaminate the surface, and the vinyl will stick perfectly to it. I got this little squeegee thing, so when I'm laying the vinyl down, this will help me just push out the air bubbles and just lay down the vinyl really smoothly. Of course, I got some knife and blade, so it's gonna be important that I swap these out pretty often. You don't wanna have a dull blade, it's gonna give you a really ragged cut. So I got a variety of these. The wrap glove is gonna come in handy when I wanna put this on and just get a really smooth glide over the vinyl. So using your skin on the vinyl is gonna be hard to really slide on it, but if you wanna just start pushing down the vinyl into certain areas, this glove is gonna help it glide smoothly across the surface. No wrap job will be complete without, of course, a heat gun. So I'll use the heat gun to stretch the vinyl when I first want to lay it down, and I'll also use it at the end to post heat. And what this will allow me to do is just find any trapped air bubbles and push them out, and also reset any of the sections that I may have stretched a little bit, and just put it back to its natural state. Okay, so for the rear bumper apron, what I'm gonna do here is I'm actually gonna do 3 different inlays. So the first inlay I wanna do is I'm gonna do at the bottom. And what I'll do at the bottom, I'll actually not just do this whole bottom, but I'll do the bottom and I'll wrap it up to the back. This will make it easier to do the other two, and since you won't really notice, you're not gonna notice the back at all, that's okay to do it that way. The second inlay I wanna do is going to be right up here on this top little panel piece. So I could do this front panel and this bottom here, most likely in one piece, but I don't want to make it more complicated than it really needs to be. And also, there's a lot of change going on right here at this corner. And so there's a chance of failure here if I overstretch, try to push too much in there just to get it to fit. So doing that one vinyl or that one inlay here is gonna help resolve that. And then the last piece I'll do is this front panel. So the front panel just come all the way across and then I'll wrap across the front piece here. And so what I'll do also with that bottom inlay is make sure that I do about halfway of this rounded edge here. That way when I wrap over top here, especially in this section here where it starts to change angles, it'll be a lot easier to just neatly wrap over top of that versus trying to stretch it all the way around. And that's gonna make my life easier there. Okay, so the long side skirt. This is also gonna be done in 3 pieces. Okay, so for the first inlay, what I'm gonna do is this one back panel. So it's gonna be kind of like an L, and I'm just gonna do this one side. So you actually won't see this either. It's really just to make sure it's wrapped and it's there, but you will not see this portion because of the way that it tucks in. So the second inlay will be on the bottom. It's just gonna be a full wrap all the way to the bottom. And the same with the rear bumper aprons. What I'll do is I'll do it about halfway of this edge, because you won't see that inlay. And so once that whole bottom piece is wrapped, I'm gonna flip it over. So the third inlay I'm gonna do is gonna be on this fin and the top. So the fin and the top can be wrapped in one, but when I get to this piece right here, this corner, I'm probably gonna wanna make a little bit of relief cut because there's gonna be some tension as I try to stretch that in there. But that relief cut will help alleviate that tension, that stress, and make it work perfectly. The front lip, which is going to be the most difficult of them all. So there's a lot of things going on with the front lip. I have this fin sticking out, you have this indent that changes directions, you also have the bottom piece, and then of course it goes, it comes out from the edge, it goes in, and it turns in again. And so what I'm going to do with this piece is that this fin and this whole front side here will be one inlay, and I'll run that right in between that edge so you won't see it. And then on the whole front piece here, I might be able to do this all in one. I'm not sure yet. I'm a little concerned. I don't want to use like just one big strip, which is what I could do, and just lay it across and just make it perfect. But that's a lot of waste of vinyl. So I don't know if I want to do it that way. I may try to just cut a pretty thick strip and just run it and do a little bit of a change here. Because it's not super drastic of a change, I'm not worried about the tension here and it failing. But it does concern me a little bit, so I don't know. I'm not a professional wrapper here. For the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, I'm not sure yet how I want to do this bottom with how it changes. I could do it all in one piece, so this just comes all the way down and it turns and it comes this way. I'm a little worried about the hard changes, so like this is like almost a 45 degree, whereas this is like a 10. And the 45, stretching it this way and going that way is probably not gonna work, but I also don't wanna use a big piece of vinyl, so that's what I'm really trying to avoid. I could just lay one big strip down, and basically what would happen, it was just cover the whole thing. But I don't know if I want to do that because it's a lot of waste of vinyl. So I may try first to maybe do like the end piece here, do like an inlay, and then just do the whole middle piece and just keep the ends as separate. Again, you aren't going to see the bottom. This is really just me because I don't want to see it scratch. So I know it's going to rub. And the vinyl is just a little bit of extra protectant on the bottom. That way when I take it off, I can just put a new piece on and hopefully it's not as scratched as it needs to be.
we are done vinyl wrapping these pieces, and overall they turned out pretty good, especially for not having any vinyl wrapping experience prior to wrapping my hood. In the next video, we're going to be going ahead and installing these on the STi, so if you want to see that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.